Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Heather, and I am creating part two of a two-part video series about working with your field of consciousness or understanding your field of consciousness and how to work within it to clear across lifetimes and timelines. As I'm recording these videos, I haven't yet named it, so the name may look a little bit different, the title may look a little bit different, but this is a fascinating subject that I have been working on. And if you haven't listened to the first video, you might want to go back and listen to it because I give you an understanding of why I'm sharing this information with you. As a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, I have worked with hundreds of clients to do deep clearing and healing. And we work not only in this lifetime, but we work across lifetimes for clearing. You would be very surprised at how many lifetimes you are still energetically connected to and how the experiences in those lifetimes are still affecting you in this now moment. And as a hypnosis practitioner who has done so much clearing work and seen how much we're connected to, I have had this desire for a few years now to find a way to make that process a little easier. If you've been on your awakening journey for a while, you probably have been going through layers of clearing, purging, releasing, letting go. And this is important because as we ascend, as we shift in consciousness, as we raise our frequency and vibration, we are aligning to new dimensional spaces where our density cannot join us. We are becoming more light. We are moving from a carbon-based structure to a more crystalline structure, and that allows more light to come into our physical body and will eventually allow us to have a completely different experience in this reality. So I don't know about you, but I know as I work with people, I hear all the time what we call ascension symptoms. And this is where our physical body is changing. When the light comes in, the density has to surface. And sometimes that can feel like aches, pains. You can feel extremely tired, lethargic, hard to focus, very emotional, all sorts of things that are happening. And it's just part of this process that we're going through. But the purging and releasing process is part of it as well. And depending on how much you have going on within your energetic field, you might have a lot of work to do, maybe more than the average person. Sometimes I feel like I have done more work than the average person. But also, we're not just clearing for ourselves, we're clearing for the collective. We are clearing for our family lineages, our ancestors. We are doing work on all levels and layers. I feel like this life is like the cleanup life. When I look at all of the lifetimes that I've explored with clients as a hypnosis practitioner, I feel like so much has happened. This is just the life that we are aware and we're doing the cleanup and we're trying to tie up the loose ends. So as I've done this work, I have, like I said, I've wanted to find a way to help people clear and release in a better way. I've always thought there must be a better way than sometimes the tedious way that we have to do it in hypnosis sessions, and not that it's bad or wrong. But I mentioned in the last video when I'm working with a client and they have so many things that they're dealing with, and they just really want to live a beautiful, peaceful, balanced life. And you see all of the physical, mental, emotional issues that they're dealing with. It's just hard because you want to help them so much. You want to help them get all of this stuff cleared up, figured out, released, their energy back flowing in a beautiful, open fashion. And it just can be a tedious process. So my team has been working with me as I've been asking, because I've been asking for ways. Probably over the last few years, I keep saying, there's got to be a better way. And over the last several months, I have been learning different ways of understanding the energy field, our blueprints, our divine templates. These are things that my team has been talking to me about and helping me to understand. And I am here to share that information with you. We are learning together, so everything that I bring forward is just at my level of knowledge. You may understand it differently, and that's okay. But I want to share what I know, because if it helps all of us, or if it helps any of us, I think that's a great thing. But in the last video, we talked about the field of consciousness. And I kind of think of this as your soul field, but it's slightly different. Your soul and your field of consciousness go hand in hand. They're slightly different in the way that they operate. But you can think of your field of consciousness, your consciousness field, as a field of energy that exists far beyond the body and the mind. It actually exists outside of space and time. It is the field is it holds a living record of every thought, feeling, and experience that your soul has ever had across lifetimes. In the last video, I sort of it's kind of like the Akashic records. The Akashic records is a field of consciousness, let's just say, that stores, it holds records of all things, all people, all places. Everything is stored in the Akashic records. And if you want to go into the Akashic records to learn more about yourself, your history, your past, your present, it's all there. And so your field of consciousness is very similar to that, but it's more individualized to your soul and all of your soul aspects. So all aspects of you existing across time. And so everything that happens to you within those individualized lifetimes gets stored as a record or a signal or data in that field. And when things are stored into the field that go unresolved, that hold some sort of distortion, so maybe you experience a trauma, or maybe you took a vow, or you signed a contract, and those things happened in those lifetimes for a reason. They played out for a lesson or an experience that you needed, but they were never fully resolved. Maybe you didn't move fully through the energy. Maybe you avoided it, pushed it away, didn't deal with it. Or maybe you broadcast a signal so intense that it was unable to fully resolve itself in that lifetime. And so now you've created let's just say, we'll call it distorted data that resides in your field. It is a signal that gets broadcast out, and other versions of your soul that are incarnated can pick up and receive that signal, and it can affect them in the lifetime that they are living. So, for instance, you go through something very significant in a lifetime that creates a lot of fear within you. Something happens to you, that fear signal gets broadcast into your field. It gets stored there like a record or like data. And then in this life, if you are in a certain vibrational frequency that aligns with that fear, you may pick up that signal. It broadcasts through your field, and you are feeling fear that you can't quite put your finger on. Where is this coming from? Why am I dealing with this? Or you took a vow in another life of poverty or of silence. Maybe you were a monk or a priest or a nun, and that vow created a record in your field that was never revoked. It is still broadcasting, it is still active. So in this lifetime, you may be dealing with poverty consciousness or lack, or you can't get ahead, or you can't seem to get abundance into your life. And you're doing all the things that people say to do. You're listening to all the manifestation techniques, you're visualizing, you're feeling, you're um, creating the vision boards, you're writing things down. You're working on your alignment. You're aligning to the highest versions of self. All the things. There's so many ways that we look at manifestation and attracting abundance, and you still can't make it happen. And that's because somewhere in your energetic field, your field of consciousness, you're receiving a signal from a vow that you took in another lifetime that where you renounced abundance. It's frustrating, isn't it? That's how I've always felt as I've done this work. I'm like, why are we like this? This is crazy to me. And that is why I'm so excited to have been able to deep dive into this with my team to help me to understand what's really going on from the higher perspective. So, your field of consciousness is not just a storehouse. It doesn't just store data and records and signals, it broadcasts them out. It emits the shape of reality that you perceive. And so when we're working with traditional like hypnosis, quantum healing hypnosis, or energy work or regression work, we're working within the density layers of the field. So it's almost like when you hear people say we're peeling back layers of the onion, that's what it feels like when we're doing this work in hypnosis. We peel off as many layers as we can to help you get clear. But as I have said, so many clients have come through and I'm like, oh goodness, there's so many layers, but you just can't get to them in one session. It's nearly impossible to do all that work. It's exhausting to the client and it's energetically exhausting to the practitioner because a lot of energy, it's like we run a lot of energy in these sessions. They're very high energy when we're working with our higher self and our teams of light and we're doing this deep work. So it's almost as if we're just clearing away fragments. We're getting the fragments off. We're doing a little bit of trauma work. We're doing a little bit of emotional healing. We're clearing off entities. We're clearing off attachments, AI, things that have been implanted or added into your field. It's just piece by piece by piece. And it's almost, it just feels sometimes like to me, it feels endless. It feels like there's endless work. I think I mentioned that in the last video. Do you feel like you're constantly healing? You are constantly processing something. And it's like just when you get one layer off, here comes another one to the surface. And you're like, here we go again. And that's because what's happening or what can be happening, and I'm not saying this is happening in all for all things, but it could be the reason that we're not getting to that by peeling off layers is because there's a core system. It's like it's embedded in the roots and it's just broadcasting. And so when we clear the upper layers, the fragments, the layers of the onion, we're not getting to the root, the core of where it's plugged into your system, let's just say. So I have been working with my team to help me to understand where this is located because I'm like, okay, help me to understand why we're so connected to all of these different lifetimes and why is it that we're so affected by it? Why can it, something that has nothing to do with me create so much trouble in my life? And it is because it's happening at the system level at your energetic field. So they have been teaching me how to create and use what I'm calling field commands or field instructions. And this is where we work with our teams, your higher self, and you access that field of consciousness. You go straight into the soul layer and you work to clear what is ready to release. And when you do that, it's like giving yourself a system update and it updates across all timelines. Now, it does not clear, so it doesn't clear away something that happened to you. So let's say you're clearing something like trauma from a lifetime, and you don't even have to know where that lifetime is. You do not have to go seeking the story behind what happened to you in that life to release it from the field. When we're doing field clearing work, we are going straight to the source, straight to the root, and we're clearing and then allowing that to update. Now, when it updates, it does not clear the experience in that life. That experience, whatever it is that you learned, whatever it is that you needed to experience, that stays. That wisdom stays integrated within the system. When we're doing field clearing work, what we're doing is we are looking for the distortion. So the distorted energy that exists within the field that is broadcasting through all layers of your existence, all physical incarnations that are experiencing that distorted signal. That's what we're doing when we're doing this field clearing work. It's actually pretty incredible, if you ask me. And I mentioned in the last videos, I feel like we have leveled up in our consciousness. I've been getting that from my team throughout this year. And when we level up, when we reach a certain next level of consciousness as a collective, it's almost like we unlock new layers of our understanding of how to work with not only our physical body, but our mental, our emotional, our causal, our etheric, our astral, all of those different bodies, all of those different layers. We start to tap more into the higher or the multidimensionality of who we are, because we believe ourselves to be just humans having this linear experience, this human experience, but you are so much more. You are so much more than what you perceive yourself to be. And as I have done this work as a hypnosis practitioner and worked in so many different ways, and even through listening to channeled messages, I have come to learn that there are so many things about who we really are that we have yet to uncover and discover. And as we do, as we move in frequency, as we shift into the higher states of consciousness and more of this knowledge and information unlocks, because honestly, we already know it. If you're here, you're a star seed, you are a higher dimensional being. You are here to participate in Earth's ascension, to assist Gaia, to assist humanity. You already know this deep down inside somewhere. You already understand it, because the higher beings, they don't work in the same way that we do. They don't go in for hypnosis sessions. The Pleiadians don't go for hypnosis sessions. They don't need Reiki. They don't need energy healing. They don't have to meditate in the way that we do, because they understand how to work with their field. They understand how consciousness truly works. They understand how their reality works. They understand alignment. They understand frequency. They understand all of these topics that we get, and I get most of it, but still sometimes my mind is like, oh, it's like I know it's in there. I feel it when my team is channeling through me and they're downloading this information, and I'm like, this feels so resonant with me, but it's like my human mind is still trying to catch up and make sense of it and put it into a linear format that I can understand and then that I can share with you. Makes it a little more complicated. But like I said, the higher beings, they operate in a completely different way. But to be honest, we are higher beings. We're just in physical human bodies. But those human bodies are going to shift. I don't know how long that will take, but we know, we already sense the shift. We already feel things happening and unlocking. We're doing the purging, we're doing the releasing, we're letting go of things, and we know that we're doing all of that so that we can shift into higher states of light, of consciousness, of awakening our gifts, of accessing more of our higher self, of receiving more of that higher information that many of us seek to receive. It's a remembrance of who you truly are. You already have it all within you. That's why we go within. It's already in there. It's already in there. So every time we do work like this, be it through things like hypnosis or energy healing or meditation or connecting with your team and working with them or connecting with Gaia and Source, we are releasing these distortions and we are moving your field back into a higher state of alignment to allow you to shift, to rise, to open up to new experiences, new gifts, new abilities, and moving you more into your soul path and soul mission. So many people that I work with, they feel blocked. They feel like, you say, I'm here for a bigger mission, a bigger reason, a bigger purpose, but I can't access that, or I don't know what it is, or you have a lot of fears and doubts and overthinking and overwhelm about what you're truly here to do. Well, from a soul level, your soul knows exactly why you're here. Your soul knows exactly why you're here and what you came to do. And it's just a matter of us clearing the human field, and we do that through hypnosis and Reiki and all of these other methods. But also now we're starting to see that it's deeper than that. There are deeper layers that we can begin to understand now and access those deeper layers for healing. So let's talk about, I want to share some information that I channeled through from my team just to help you understand a little bit more about some of the things that get stored into the field that we can clear through the field clearing work. And I will just say this here, I don't know if I've mentioned that in this video, but I have compiled my first energy clearing or field clearing toolkit. You can find it at soulmindacademy.com. And in that toolkit, I teach you everything that you need to know. It's all the clearing statements, how to access your field of consciousness or get into that root of the soul. This is all done in alignment with your team, in your higher self. And it just gives you everything that you need to do that work. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how that works in just a minute, but I wanted to let you know that I've got that field clearing toolkit. If this is something that resonates with you and you'd like to give this a try and see what you can clear out of your field, I've got that available. And I should be creating part 2 of that kit because I'm going to go deeper. This one focuses on physical body clearing, mental, emotional body, some deep fear and trauma clearing, ancestral healing and lineage healing, timelines, vows, contracts, just a lot of the things that I work with in hypnosis sessions, I wanted to add into this toolkit. The second toolkit, we're going to dive deeper into some of the more emotional things like inner child healing and relationships and just all sorts of things that revolve around those types of things. But I want to share some information that my team brought through me, and these are different levels. Like we talked about emotions. So like in hypnosis sessions, we clear trapped emotions, we clear trauma, we can clear belief systems or try to help you shift belief systems. So I'm going to go into some information just to help you understand those a little bit deeper at how that was brought through by my team. But they shared with me some of the things that get stored into the field. They say emotions are the first and most immediate source. When emotion flows freely, it flows through the field and dissipates naturally. So, as a practitioner and you work with clients, you see this all the time. When we deal with something very heavily emotional, oftentimes we want to suppress it, we want to avoid it, we want to push it away. And I have learned that that is probably one of the worst things that we learn to do very early on in our life is to suppress our emotion. Over time, emotion builds up in your system. It's almost like masses of energy. And as you get older and older, it creates all sorts of issues, relationship issues, physical health issues, mental and emotional issues. And again, emotions aren't just trapped from this lifetime, but all lifetimes. We can be connected to a lifetime hundreds and hundreds of years ago, as far as looking at that in a linear perspective. that is still affecting you. So when an emotion is suppressed, when it's denied or magnified by fear, it becomes a standing wave. Energy that circles within your field, and it's seeking resolution. So it's trying to be resolved, but you're pushing it away, you're not looking at it. And so it just stays in the field, eventually integrating into your soul field or the field of consciousness. So, for example, grief that was never expressed becomes a low frequency pulse that continues to resonate, attracting experiences that will bring that grief up again. Why? Because your system is trying to clear it, it is trying to resolve it. The field repeats to offer opportunities to release and balance. Do you ever feel like you go through cycles? Why am I repeating the cycle? Why do I keep having the same experience? Because your system is looking for for release, for that to be resolved, for you to make a different choice, or to take a different path, or to just bring that energy up and release it and feel it and work through it. So this happens throughout time. Just think about that. How crazy is that? So trauma is also part of this. Trauma occurs when an experience overwhelms the nervous system or consciousness to such a degree that the energy of the event cannot integrate. So it can't integrate within your system. In that moment, a fragment of awareness detaches and freezes at the frequency of shock, fear, or pain. And that fragment remains alive within the field, broadcasting its signal across time. So you may not remember the event consciously, it may not even be in this lifetime, but the vibration continues to announce, I am unsafe, I am powerless, I cannot trust. These are things that you feel but maybe make no sense. You're thinking, well, why do I even feel like this? Where is this coming from? It's coming from something that happened in a lifetime that created that signal, and it's now in your field and it's being broadcast, and it's drawing in situations that match that unresolved pattern. And your system is doing that because it's trying to resolve itself, although you probably don't realize that. But it's doing it. It's bringing up new situations. It's continuing to bring them up until the signal can be acknowledged, transformed, released, cleared, let go of, so on and so forth. So then we'll look at vows and contracts. This is another layer that we see often in hypnosis. And these are conscious or unconscious declarations. So you don't even have to be conscious. Sometimes you have to be careful what you say. Sometimes, especially like if you get really, really mad and you state something so succinctly, I will never do this ever again in my life. Well, that could be potentially a vow or a contract that you're making, maybe not a contract, but a vow. You are stating, I will never do this. So you have to be careful because that could affect you down the road when you are in a different lifetime. But these are so conscious or unconscious declarations that are made in moments of heightened emotion. Like I said, when you're mad, I will never do that again. Or a belief that you have, like I have to give up something. I can't have financial abundance because in a lifetime as a nun, it was wrong. Or you have to give it up because you have to give obedience to a higher source or whatever role that you're playing out in that lifetime. So these function as like commands embedded in your field. You don't even know that they're there. So a vow of poverty, chastity, or obedience made in one incarnation can continue running like a background script, shaping choices and blocking abundance or intimacy in later lives. Because the field operates through resonance, these vows act as persistent frequencies until they are consciously rescinded. And so, again, when we go through hypnosis and we go back into lifetimes and we find that vow, we let it go, we release it, and that updates at the field level. So, we can do it in either way. But what's happening is, let's say there's 5 more lives where you took a similar vow. Well, we only cleared one through hypnosis, where when we're accessing it at the field level, we're getting to the root of that signal. So belief systems form the structural framework of distortion. Beliefs are sustained thoughts repeated until the field accepts them as truth. So think about beliefs for a minute. I look at humans, we're so funny. Our beliefs are so powerful, and we believe something so intensely that it does not matter what someone else says. We are going to hold tight to our beliefs no matter what. I see this all over the place. If someone comes along that challenges your belief system, you are going to argue it. I'm not saying you, but a person is going to argue it all day that they're right and you're wrong, because our beliefs are so powerful. We repeat something so much to ourselves, even unconsciously, that we create this belief that sometimes we are unable to see the truth, that maybe that belief is not accurate, or maybe there is another perspective, and we're almost unable to allow that alternate perspective, because it's like, from the human, it almost offends us. Like, wait a minute, what do you mean my belief wasn't right? It's like we can't handle it. Hopefully, one of these days we'll be able to have beliefs, but also be flexible enough to understand that our belief may or may not be as accurate as we think, and that's okay. Maybe there are other ways of thinking and believing that we can just acknowledge as other people's truths. So once these beliefs are fully formed and created, the belief filters perception, determining what signals are amplified or ignored. So if a person believes that they are unworthy, and you've been telling yourself that over and over, or someone else has been telling you that, and you have believed it, you've taken it on as your own, the field suppresses signals of worthiness and magnifies those that confirm limitation. Again, it's trying to clear that. So it's going to magnify it, send that out so that the system can self correct. And that is typically the responsibility of the incarnated soul. So all of these distortions, emotional, traumatic, contractual, and mental, they layer together to create repeating loops. We keep repeating the same patterns. And this is feedback resonance, where the field emits a tone based on past data, and then our reality reflects it back, and then the loop strengthens because we're not clearing it. Over time, the distortion becomes self-sustaining, creating patterns that seem really, really challenging to release. So the purpose of clearing these types of loops at the root, it's to interrupt that loop by restoring the original coherence to the field. So before the loop began, before the distortion happened, we are returning coherence to your field. When you identify the emotion, you acknowledge the trauma, you release the vow, or you dissolve the belief, the standing wave, that waveform, collapses. It releases. The frozen energy reintegrates into the soul's current, and the signal of the field smooths. And then the external reality begins to reorganize itself accordingly, and your life changes. That is why when you go into a hypnosis session and you do some clearing, oftentimes you will experience changes in your reality. Life becomes different because you're no longer running those loops, those patterns. You've cleared the beliefs, you've let go of some of the emotions, you've gotten off the attachments, and life changes. Well, we live in a quantum reality, in a quantum field. There's a field of consciousness even outside of just your particular soul field. And that field is always updating itself and rearranging itself to match your frequency, to match what you're holding within your field, if that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. So this is the physics of consciousness. Energy always creates equilibrium, and the moment distortion is recognized and allowed to move, the field corrects itself. That's why if you are feeling emotion come up, let that emotion come up. Cry, scream, release, get it out of your system. Do not let it get into your field. You don't want to have to do this work in another life. Let's get it done in this one. But just a reminder, because my team has shared that every distortion, because sometimes we look at distortion as bad. Oh my God, I've got distortion in my field. Well, yes, but there are ways of clearing that distortion. But that distortion once served a either protective or educational purpose. Everything we go through, is typically for a reason. Some of the things are really hard, and it's hard for us to look at them and go, why did I have to go through that? But the higher guides, the angels, will tell you there's always a greater purpose for even the most challenging experiences we go through. It is for growth. It is for expansion. It is for learning. It is teaching. Sometimes it is for us. Sometimes it is for other people. We contract with other people and say, I will experience this so you can learn from it, so you can grow from it. There are a variety of reasons why we go through some of the hardest things. So they're always beneficial in some way, even if we can't perceive that. So we're not clearing that. We're not releasing the lesson or the wisdom or what we learned. We're just simply releasing the distorted energy that was created and stored in our field that is still rippling out across time and affecting us. And when we release with gratitude rather than resistance, it returns the energy as wisdom and stores that into the field. So let's take a look at some field clearing statements because I want you to understand how these work. And again, I have a complete toolkit that is full of, I'm going to say hundreds. I didn't count how many I have in there, but I probably say a few hundred clearing statements for you to work with. And this is across many different layers. So even if you have no idea what could be in your field, you have access to clear it. And it's not going to clear again anything other than what is ready to release from your system. It is all facilitated by your higher self. So nothing is done without the higher self's consent and permission and assistance. But a field clearing statement consists of two parts. The first part is a directive or clearing instruction. So again, think of your field of consciousness kind of like an operating system. In an operating system, there are codes that work to create your computer, your programs. Everything is coded, so we'll kind of think of it like that. But this is an instruction that you are giving to your system. And you are in charge. You are a sovereign being. You are in charge of your field. You have the right to state what comes into your field and what does not, or what is not allowed in your field. I teach this when I'm teaching protection, energy protection, and when I'm teaching higher guidance communication. When you are connecting to higher guides, to your higher self for channeling, you get to state what you allow to connect with you and what you don't allow. That is your right as a sovereign being. This is the same sort of thought process. You are in charge of your field. It is your energy field, it is what you are connected to as a fractal of that soul. So the first part of the statement identifies what is ready to release or realign, and it tells the field where to focus. So an example would be, I instruct my field to clear all frequencies of fear and self-doubt across all timelines, returning them to pure source light. So a very simple statement. And you know what's funny is as I've put together this toolkit, I've said, this just seems too easy. I've said this to my guys, I'm like, this just seems too easy. And they remind me that it's the human that makes everything complicated. And they're so right. We make everything complicated. We really feel like we have to make sometimes, I'm not saying you, I'm definitely talking about myself, because sometimes I find myself making things so complex because I feel like the complexity of it is what really does the healing. But they're like, no, It's so simple. It is just a simple statement. So the first part, that's part one. The second part is the integration or the recalibration instruction. So once the energy clears, the field momentarily becomes neutral. And this is the perfect time to bring in the new resonance or the new frequency. Remember, or maybe I haven't said this, but words are frequencies. Words hold frequency and vibration. When put together in the proper way, you are bringing in a new frequency. So you might say something like, I now align my field with confidence, calm trust, and creative flow. So, again, just referencing hypnosis work that we do, when we clear and release something from the physical body, from the energetic field, we always replace it with light. And what is light? Light is frequency. Light is frequency. Whatever color you want to work with holds a variety of different frequencies that helps to balance and heal what was removed. So it's the same thing with the clearing instructions. We are giving the directive or the clearing that we want to happen. We are using our authority, and then we are telling our system what we now want to hold within it. So let me say that clearing statement all in one, how you might say it. So I instruct my field to clear all frequencies of fear and self-doubt across all timelines, returning them to pure source light. I now align my field with confidence, calm trust, and creative flow. And this creates a field clearing statement that gets in there, finds anything distorted, releases it because you are instructing your system, your operating system, what to let go of. The operating system does so with the assistance of your higher self who is guiding the process, and it clears that energy, it clears that signal, it clears that instruction, and it rewrites a new instruction. This is what we're releasing. This is now how we want to operate. Pretty cool. So we'll say when I created the toolkit, the one thing that the guides talked to me about was you need to be in the right frequency to do this work. Using a statement just like we did is powerful. However, you want to be in heart coherence with your field. You want to be in alignment. And it's very similar to hypnosis. When a client comes in, I don't just say lay down and start asking questions. I take them through a beautiful induction where we are setting our protections, we're inviting in the team, we're relaxing the body, we're moving them into a state of consciousness to make it easy for them to connect in with their physical and energetic bodies, making it easy to go into past lives and different lifetimes, and making it easy for the higher self to drop in, or the teams of light, the guides, to bring through the information. So you want to shift your frequency. It's the same also with Akashic Records work. They use things like a pathway prayer or something that moves them into a state of alignment with where they're trying to access in the quantum field. So hypnosis, we're accessing things in the quantum field. The Akashic Records is in the quantum field. Your soul consciousness is in the quantum field. So I teach you how to do that in the toolkit, how to work with your team, how to set up your protections, how to get in alignment. We are always working with Source and Gaia. There are a few things that are very important to me to make sure you are doing before you get into this work. You're not going to hurt yourself by doing this work. There is nothing that you could mess up. But in order to really get in there and access that field of consciousness, you want to be sort of connected in with it. So I teach that in the toolkit. And so once you have gotten yourself into that alignment, then you can begin working with the statements. And so I'll give you some other ideas of some statements just to give you an idea of some things that you can do. You're welcome to work with them if you'd like. And when you're working with these statements, my team has said it's important not to just speak these statements and just continue going. You want to stop. You want to pause between the statements. You want to allow the energy to settle, to integrate. You want to allow the higher self and the teams to assist in any way. And when I'm working with these field statements, oh my gosh, the energy that I feel is amazing. I have specific points on my body that I feel energy flowing when I'm connected with my team, around my head, lots of tingles, lots of moving energy and patterns. And then down the center of my back through the center column of my back where energy flows. And especially, I always like to work with my pillar of light. So creating that anchor, that vertical access of light between source and Gaia. So I can feel the energy. And when I'm working with the statements, when I'm in the right alignment, when I've gotten myself into that heart coherence, I've connected in with my team, I've breathed, used the breath and meditated and got into that beautiful state, I can feel the energy flowing through me, and it's quite amazing. So you may feel that or you may not. And if you don't feel anything, that's no big deal at all. So some statements that you might use. I instruct my field to clear all outdated programs of unworthiness, returning them to pure source light. And I now align my field with the remembrance of my divine worth and radiant confidence. Or I instruct my field to release all emotional imprints of grief and loss across all timelines. And I now harmonize with peace, comfort, and gentle acceptance. I instruct my field to dissolve all vows and contracts that limit abundance. And I now align my field with the frequency of generosity, flow, and joyful provision. I instruct my field to clear inherited ancestral patterns of fear, and I now align my field with courage, wisdom, and freedom for my entire lineage. And the last one is I instruct my field to release all collective energies of confusion or division. And I now stabilize in clarity, unity, and coherence with Source and Gaia. And so that's just a few statements that you can use. You can see it sort of covers a range of things. There are many. There are many. Just think of how many lifetimes we've lived, just an infinite number that we are living right now. So imagine how much is stored within your field. It's kind of overwhelming to think about it, but I think that's why this field clearing work is so important, because now we can start getting to the root. It doesn't mean that as you do this work, everything is going to magically go away and you're going to have a perfect life. Although, if that does happen, please let me know. Please let me know. I would love to know. But it is going to start clearing and releasing more than maybe we could have gotten to by just peeling off the layers one at a time. And so then there's also sealing statements, and these sort of create the integration of the work that you're doing. I do have these sealing statements, these integration statements in the toolkit. But this would look like I instruct my field to fully stabilize in the highest coherence of Source and Gaia, sealing in the work completed today in truth, love, and light. Or I clear my field of all residual energy released through this process, sending it to Source light for transmutation. And I anchor my system in calm balance. Or I call in golden source light to flow through every layer of my energy system, purifying, balancing, and sealing the field in complete coherence. And so these are sealing statements or integration statements. This completes the cycle that you moved through, and it sort of integrates everything and brings you into beautiful balance and alignment. And then once you're complete, I always suggest that you thank your team for their love and support, because they are doing this work. As I mentioned, when I do these statements and I work with what comes through, I can feel it, and I can feel my team moving. I can sense them. And it really is powerful. They are your team for a reason. They're there to support you. And this work is important because as we learn to do it, we're learning, like I said, new ways of healing that are going to support us as we move into the higher dimensional realms of existence, as we move towards the fifth dimension and we anchor more into these new earth timelines. Eventually, healing is not going to be as challenging as it is in the third dimension. It's going to be different. We're going to understand our field. We're going to be able to work within it very quickly. Our bodies are already self-healing, just not as they are right now. But as we continue to advance, our bodies are changing into that crystalline structure. We're going to learn how to work within the field of consciousness. And I feel like there are many additional layers that we will need to learn. I'm excited to learn these, and as I learn them, I will be sharing them with you. This work is so important because everything that you do to support yourself has a ripple effect. And more than likely, you are doing the work for your family. You are the one that chose to wake up first, to go through this process first, to do your clearing and healing and get yourself into alignment. Bring forward the higher frequencies and the codes of your star family and galactic lineages. And you're holding that on behalf of your family whenever they are ready to go through their awakening and transition. And not everybody is meant to wake up, and that's okay. Not all souls are choosing that. So you may just be the bridge for your family that allows them to move between the third and the fifth dimension. So this work that we're doing on ourselves that allows us to bring in more light, activate more of our gifts and abilities, and have a deeper understanding of the way reality truly works, the way our physical and emotional and spiritual bodies work and our energetic fields work. We are doing that work for all. We're doing it for all. So I hope that this made sense. I would love any comments that you guys had. Did this spark anything in your awareness? Did it help? Did it confuse you? If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to create additional videos and go into deeper explanation because I love connecting with my team and asking and bringing forward this information. So I'm happy to share that with you. And we are doing some really deep work in the Quantum Soul Portal starting, well, I'm making this video at the end of 2025, but we're going to be doing a lot of light body work, 12-strand DNA activation, activating your soul mission for the next year and beyond, and also helping you to connect with the councils of light that you are already seated upon. Yep, that's right. You more than likely are sitting upon at least one or possibly many councils of light who are working on Earth's ascension. They are supporting us in a variety of ways. And these councils would love to step forward to connect with you more. So I am assisting you in connecting to any councils that you are aligned with, only for your highest love and support, only those that are aligned with your soul. We're doing some fun things. We're also talking about the carbon-based body, how it is forming into crystalline and what that looks like, what you may experience, and how to move through those changes. So lots of fun things happening in the Quantum Soul Portal. We would love for you to join us. I'll leave all of that information in the description below. I am sending you all so much love. I hope you enjoyed this video series, and there will be many more to come. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more. I'll talk to you in the next video.